Hi guys, welcome to today's lesson on 8.6. This is our second day of factoring, and what we're going to focus on today is all the examples you had yesterday had a addition symbol in both spots. What we're going to focus on today is now what if we have some subtraction there? How do we find factors here? So we're just going to go through a couple examples, and then your homework's going to look very similar to what these problems look like. So to start, right, we want to find factors of our a, which is this value out here. So in this case, just 1 and 2. And then factors of our c, or our constant out here, which are 1 and 7. And then we have to be careful here. It also could be -1 and -7. So what now we can do is we know it has to look like this. There's going to be two factors here. Our only possible factors of a here are 1 and 2, so we know we have a 1x and a 2x. And now we're just going to go through a couple examples. I'm going to just plug in the first ones here, so a +1 and a +7. Right, to find our middle term here, it's always our outsides and our insides. So 7 times x is 7x, 2 times 1 is 2x. Notice 7 plus 2x gets us 9x. That is not the same as this -15x, so we got to try something else. So go backwards here. Okay, so this one did not work. Okay, so now let's try the negative ones. We have -1 there, -7 there. Okay, so we try this again, outsides, insides. -7x, -2x. We're a little closer, but again, not quite there. Right, the one thing we can do is change where our -1 and our -7 are. So I'm going to try that one more time here, but I'm going to put the -7 there, -1 here. So now if I take my outsides, my insides, I get -1x and -14x. If we add those together, we get -15, which is what we're trying to find. So this right here, those are our two factors, x minus 7 and 2x minus 1. Again, if you need to pause the video at any time, please feel free to do so, but I'm going to get moving forward here. Next example, so we're going to start off the same way. Let's find factors of a. Well, in this case, again, it's 1 and 2. Factors of our c, it could be -1 and +5, or +1 and -5. So I know I have factors here. Again, it's nice with 1 and 2. I know it's x and 2x. So now I'm just going to try our first one here. So I'm going to plug in -1 and +5. So if I do that, if I take outsides, insides, we have 5 times x is +5, minus 2 gets us a +3. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try flipping our -1 and our 5. So now I'm going to put +5 here, -1 there. So we take our outsides, insides, -1x, 5 times 2 gives us 10x. We add those together, we get 9x, and that's what we're trying to find. So notice this time it only took us 2 tries. It all depends on, as we practice this more and more, right, we're going to be able to start to make educated guesses on, hey, you know, maybe this would be a better choice, or maybe this would. But as we're going right now, it's just plugging it in and trying to find the right answer. So another example here, notice we have 2 negatives here, or 2 subtraction signs, I should say. So now our factors up here are 1 and 5. Our factors for -9 could be 1 and -9, -1, +9, and then 3 and -3. So we take this problem, we know our factors are 1 and 5, so it's 1x and 5x. Now, I usually always start with the ones that are closest together, right? What we've been dealing with before was just we either had like a 1 and a 7 or the opposite way. So I'm going to start with 3 and negative 3. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But we're going to try those ones out first. So I'll just go in order, positive 3, negative 3. Outsides, insides, we get negative 3x plus 15x gives us 12x. Not what we're trying to find. Okay. Real quick, if we just flip those symbols, right, some of you might know already, right, it's not going to work. It's going to be the same thing, but now a negative answer. 3x, negative 15, so we get negative 12x. Again, not what we're trying to do. Okay, so 3 and negative 3 are not going to be our answers. So now we got to try 1 and negative 9 or negative 1 and positive 9. We're just going to start with 1 and 9. So plus 1, or negative 9, sorry, and negative 9. So again, we take outsides, insides. Negative 9 times x is negative 9x. 5 times 1 is 5x. Add those together, we get a negative 4x, which is what we're trying to find. So again, awesome. Took us a couple tries, but right, we found our factors. And our factors would be x plus 1 and 5x minus 9. So for these next couple, we aren't going to have practice on these on our Delta Math assignment, but we are going to have some practice here working through these in our notes. And so what I'd like us to do, this first one, follow along, but the next two, I'm going to have you pause the video before you do them so that you can try to practice them and see if you get the right answer. So looking at this first one here, right, we look, what can we take out of all of those? Well, right, we could take out a negative 2. I usually always like to take that negative out in front so we don't have to deal with it later. And now we look at our x terms, right? The most we can take out is x squared. So now we're going to figure out what do we have left over. Well, negative 2 times 1 gets us negative 2. X squared times x squared gets us that. This would be negative 10x and then minus 24. So same way we've been doing problems, we just now have our GCF on the outside. We find factors of A. We find factors of our C here, so it could be 4, negative 6, positive 6, negative 4, 2, negative 12, 12, negative 2, 24, negative 1, 1, and negative 24, right? This one we have quite a bit of different factors we can try. Again, I always try the ones that are closest together first. So keep that negative 2x squared as part of our answer. But now we're going to factor. Notice with a 1 and a 1, it just makes our two factors both x's. So now I'm just going to focus on the ones that are closest together. So I'm going to try these two first. So I'm going to do a positive 4, negative 6. If we do that, we get negative 6x plus 4x, which does not get us negative 10. Okay, so we try a different one. Okay, so that one didn't work. Notice when you just have an x and an x, we're going to learn more about this tomorrow, but you don't need to try both ways because both factors are just x's, so you don't need to flip-flop which side they're on. If we try positive 6 and negative 4, right, we get negative 4 plus 6, which would give us negative 2, which does not give us negative 10. So now we're going to move on to the 2 and the negative 12. So we start here, positive 2, negative 12. So we take outsides, insides, negative 12 plus 2. Does that give us negative 10? It does. And so our final answer has to include that GCF that we took out. So our final answer would be negative 2x squared, then in parentheses, x plus 2, x minus 12. So we have two more examples. You guys are going to pause your video here, right? You have this example here. Try to take out a GCF first, then start working on the actual problem. So again, pause the video, then you can start it back up once you're done to check your answer. So looking here, right, we don't have any numerical value we can take out, so it's just going to be x squared. So we're left with x squared minus 16x plus 15. Again, this one is nice. It breaks it up into 1 and 1. This, it could be 1 and 15, negative 1, negative 15, 3 and 5, negative 3, negative 5. So again, I always start usually with the ones that are closest together. But as we get better at these, we're going to start to notice some patterns. And in this case, we're trying to get to a 16. With 3 and 5, especially when we're multiplying it by 1 here, I don't think we're going to get to that 16. So I'm actually going to try these two first. So we start with our x squared on the outside. I know my factors are 1 and 1, so I have x and x. And now I'm going to try the first one, right? Positive 1, positive 15. Well, that gets us 15x, 1x, which would be a positive 16. So right, we're wrong, but we were pretty close there. Right, the only thing we're missing is making them both negative. Now if we try this, right, negative 15 minus 1 gets us to our negative 16. So our final answer, including our GCF, would be x squared times x minus 1 times x minus 15. Okay, last one. Again, pause the video on this one. Try to take out a GCF. Then you can come back in and check your answer here. So looking here, numerically, I can take out a negative 5. As far as x values, I can just take out an x. So we're left with x squared plus 6x minus 40. Now this one's going to have a lot of factors of 40. Again, this one is just 1 and 1. Factors of 40. I'm going to start with so negative 4, positive 10, negative 10, positive 4. Right, we have a lot of other ones. These are actually, one of those two is going to be the one that works. So I'm just going to focus on those. But again, normally we would try the rest of them. So we have our negative 5. We know it's x and x. So now if I try negative 4 and positive 10, so right, that was my first one here. We get 10x minus 4x, which, awesome, first try gives us positive 6x. And so our final answer for this one, including our GCF, is negative 5x times parenthesis x minus 4, parenthesis x plus 10. So that is it for today's lesson on 8-6 factoring day 2.